No, that's all right. Realize you're out. I'm gonna go. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, good. Welcome, everybody. Everyone online should be in some sort of leadership role with their council, and I do appreciate you all being online today. Again, if you're not speaking, make sure you're muted. Today is all about us sharing with you the mission of the Knights in Indiana. My goal is for Indiana to work as a team. And so we're going to start off today by discussing what it is that we in Indiana are wanting
should be able to hear it through
do. Whoever has muted, please mute. Gentlemen, please mute your systems if you're not speaking.
There you go.
Okay. I don't see a mute. Mark, can you mute? Not sure who Mark is. Can't go by his first name. Okay. So I'll go ahead and advance. Let's get started. So let's talk a little bit about goals. So one of the things I said, I want Indiana to work together as a team. We're also going to be try to make ourselves more family friendly. So wives, children should be invited to your programs. Believe it or not, your wives are probably going to be very helpful in getting new members, because let's face it, if a wife isn't happy, then she's not going to let her husband continue or to get involved. So that's what we're really looking at there. All right, so let's start talking about membership. Membership, it is our goal as a state. My personal goal is a 10% growth. That is 4 new members per council per quarter. That is not difficult. That's basically one new guy a month. It gets us to 800 a quarter, which brings us to 3,200 new Brother Knights. And that basically replaces the members that we lost through the affiliate program. And that is really what we're shooting for. Membership. Supreme's goal, they're looking at 3.5% growth, which comes out to about 2 per quarter per council. So about half of what I'm asking for. It's 283 per quarter. It's 1,130 new Brother Knights. And of those, they're asking for us to try and find 289 new young members. And by young, they mean under the age of 50. That should be easy enough. Okay. I mean, I would hope that we're asking men under the age of 50. Obviously, we can ask anyone who's a Catholic gentleman, but we want them to be helpful. And I know there's a lot of folks out there say, oh, you guys are only worried about membership. Well, the fact of the matter is, we can only accomplish the program goals that we have if we have the hands to get the job done. Okay. If you've got a council and you've got 30 guys and you're trying to do the work of 100, you're going to burn out those 30 guys and you're not going to accomplish the project. Go ahead. Okay, new council development. So Supreme has set a goal of 3. I have set a goal of 5. We are already working on 4 right now. with the goal of getting those 4 accomplished by November 1st of this year. Please don't feel that us developing new councils harms your council. If anything, it helps because that means that in your district, you'll have more people to help. Because we're going to work as a team by district. And so more hands, more work accomplished. Hispanic. So the largest Catholic population in the nation right now and in Indiana is Hispanic members. They are very tied to family and church, which is what we as the Knights should be. And so we want to develop that and increase the number of Hispanic councils in Indiana. Fraternal benefits goal. Our state goal is that 100% of our councils are participating. To be considered participating, you have to have 2 fraternal benefits nights in your council in the year with 7 people present. Now remember, people is Knights and anyone else, okay? Members and guests count toward that 7. So invite the your parishioners at your churches to come and join. Women, children, you can open it up to the community. And Phil will correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my understanding is there are certain things that members only get, like the life insurance, but some of our retirement and things like that are open to the public. So Phil Stakowitz is our general agent. He's busy working on getting agents across the state, and we talked the other day and we're in pretty good shape. They will be scheduling virtual events that you can just log in. You don't have to have an agent at your council. There'll be 3 or 4 of those this year. Again, there'll be a survey at the end of that. You fill out the survey so that they know you were there and that you had your 7 people present, and then you get credit for that. But if you can't make those, your local agent will be able to work out a schedule with your council. Star councils. So our supreme goal is 50. We have 196 councils currently. If I get those 4 or 5, bust to 200 level. So we're only talking 25%. It is a much simpler path to star than it has been in the past. We'll talk more in detail on that. But basically, you're not, if you can do the fraternal benefit nights, you don't have to worry about trying to get a guy to pick up insurance. We're letting the insurance guys take care of that. Council engagement. We want 100% of our council successfully to invite at least 1 new Knight to join their council. We had a lot of councils last year that didn't get 1, which is not reasonable. Charitable giving. We want to increase our donations and service hours by 10%. That should be easy enough. I'm aware that probably only about 50% of our councils turn in their the annual fraternal benefits report. And I'm not going to try and kick out the number because I've got too many numbers in my head right now. If the other half turn it in, we've already got that 10%. But that said, if we do the recruiting and inviting new people to join our order, we'll be able to meet those service hours and donations because of the extra hands. Roundtables. It is my goal to have every parish in Indiana served by a council. And to that end, I have a roundtables chairman who has a list of all the parishes in the state. He's comparing that with roundtable reports that have been turned in. And then those churches that do not have a Knight's presence are going to be assigned to your councils. So when you get that assignment, your job is to go to the church, talk to the priest, find out what it is that he needs, and then bring that back to your council so that you can provide those services to that parish. You're probably going to be getting members from that parish if you don't already have them. But the point is, we're going to have a presence at every parish. I'll be working with the bishops. We'll be working with you all to make sure that that happens. Faith formation. This is an important one. We want to encourage our members to attend Mass. We are practical Catholics, which means we practice our faith. Attending Mass is the basic tenet. We want to tie ourselves to God, make sure that we're listening to God and doing the things that God wants us to do. And we can't do that unless we go visit him once in a while. We're also working on the Eucharistic revival. I'm happy to say that all 5 of the dioceses in Indiana had a Eucharistic procession back in June, and the Knights of Columbus were present at all 5 of them. There's going to be more. This is a 3-year process for the United States bishops. And in July of 2024, they're going to be having a large event in Indianapolis, and we're going to be working with them because all the bishops and archbishops and cardinals in America will be coming to Indiana to celebrate the Eucharistic process. It's going to be a great event. We're going to work with them to make sure that we have color guards. We're going to make sure that we provide them hospitality. We are going to make this an experience for these visiting dignitaries. And lastly, I'm going to ask that you look at providing some counsel-driven spiritual development, whether that's a prayer service, whether that's a Bible study, whether that is a half-day retreat, or something longer. But give your brother knights the chance to develop their spiritual side. Again, we can't know what God asks of us if we don't listen. So that's really what we're looking at there. Okay, let's talk about some objectives. First, we want to do some Hispanic council growth. And that means developing Hispanic councils across the state. I've got some demographics from Supreme, and I knew there was a large number, but when I thought they were a little more clustered around the urban areas, come to find out, we've got them across the state, both rural and urban. So we want to make sure that those gentlemen have the opportunity to be members of the Knights of Columbus, and we're going to do our best to invite them to do so. Right now, I have a North and a Central Hispanic coordinator. I am looking for someone in the Southern tier. And when by Southern tier, I mean Evansville, Vincennes, New Albany, across to Madison, and on over to Lawrenceburg. So that's that Southern tier of the state. And those guys have just as many Hispanics as the rest of the state. And so I already know there's a parish in New Albany that we want to develop a Spanish council at. It's a question of having someone that can speak to those people at that parish, because I don't speak Spanish, and we need somebody to basically translate. But if we could tell them, hey, here's the opportunity, then they could take it. All right, go ahead. 4th degree. Gentlemen, I'm a proud 4th degree member. Everyone in the state office is a proud 4th degree member. And here's the point. 4th degree members don't leave the order. They've gone to the trouble to become a 4th degree member. They're probably pretty set in being a member of the Knights of Columbus. They are there they do more than just the color guard. They do work with the veterans. They do work with helping out at funeral masses, things like that. Yes, I know there's some issue over the uniform. It's been a long time. 5+ years. Okay. The uniform is what the uniform is. Let's just move on. If you don't want to wear the uniform, you don't have to be part of the color guard. You can do the things to help the veterans and do the other things that the fourth degree do. Please encourage your members to join the fourth degree. It's going to help you keep them. It's going to keep them involved. And it's important. We need those fourth degree members to do the things that the fourth degree does. Statewide programming. Okay, so I have asked my programming team, faith, family, community, and I hate when I blank on things, life, to provide statewide programs. Okay, you know, if you look at the screen, National Catholic Youth Conference will be back in Indiana next year. Our March for Life in Indiana, the Eucharistic processions, biking for babies, all things that we as a state do. I have asked each one to come up with a specific program in their area that is available and that we can do statewide. So I know pro-life, we're talking about doing 40 days for life, and every year in Indianapolis, we do an overnighter, which is basically just the Knights of Columbus. We start Friday at 7 in the evening, go to 7 in the morning on Saturday. We're going to make that statewide. So we'll have somebody in Fort Wayne and South Bend, Gary area, Evansville area, so on, where they're doing the 40 days for life for members to be involved. This will also be shared with our online members so that they can come out and see what we do and get more involved. And that way they will be more interested in becoming a member of your council and giving you those hands that you need. So keep your eyes out for that as well. We're also looking at doing some fun things. We're trying to schedule up a Knight's Day at Holiday World. We're going to try and do that yet this year. They close during the week as of this weekend, but the weekends are open through the end of October. And we're going to find a weekend where we can basically open it up and have all the nights. We'll get you discount rates, so we can all be there and see each other at Holiday World and have a good time with our families. I'll go ahead and jump in. Statewide fundraising. Okay, guys, there's a couple of things that we're going to be doing. One, we have the state license plate program. When you purchase the Knights of Columbus license plate, $15 of that goes to our Indiana Charity Fund, Inc. That $15 adds up with the more license plates that we get. And those $15 then are available for us to assist with disaster response, help those knights that maybe have some financial trouble. We've helped priests in the past. There was a orphanage up in Northwest Indiana that burned down. We were able to help them as well. So those things are out there. But to do that, we need to raise those funds. The license plate is a great way to do that. And not only that, you get to have the pride in showing everyone that you are a knight. We also are always looking for funds for Gibraltar. You know, it is our #1 charity. It's been around for, it's now approaching 101 years as of October. And so we continue to work with them to build that up. They will be speaking a little bit more soon. Disaster relief, Special Olympics, again, big areas that we support. But that said, we as a state need to raise some funds so that we don't have to increase per capita. And we have a big new project that I'm starting where we will be benefiting the Women's Care Center. And I'll get full details later. But we are going to have, we'll have a new form out for you guys to fill out on this. But basically, this is tied to the ASAP program that Supreme has created, which is aid and support after pregnancy, which is the answer to all you care about is women having babies. We do care about life, but we don't just care about pregnant women. We care about the family. And the women's care centers provide the care to the women before the birth, and then for another 4 years after with formula, parenting classes, clothes, you name it, they provide that, and they do it without any benefit of government funding, but they do it with the donations that they receive. And we are going to step up our donations so that with this change in the regulation of Roe v. Wade going away, that all the women in Indiana don't have to worry about where's the next meal going to be and this baby is going to be a problem to. I have the help. I have a knight out there who is making sure that I am taken care of, as will be my child. And that's the biggest important, most important thing. So we're going to be doing some things. We're going to be doing it diocese wide. And right now I'm in discussions to perhaps have a big gala event at the beginning of convention next year as a fundraiser. We want to focus on our faith formation, holy hours. We at the state were required to do holy hours at our events. Usually this is in the form of some sort of Eucharistic adoration, but you can work with your priest to find something that is fitting, whether that's Eucharistic adoration or a prayer or some other type of religious event where you guys are working together in focusing on Christ. And then, of course, the Eucharistic revival. Make sure that when you get word from the diocesan coordinators that something is going on in your diocese with regards to Eucharistic revival, that you are involved. That includes all the fourth degree, and that includes all the councils. Whether they need a color guard, whether they need people out directing traffic, whether they need people providing food, whatever that may be, I need you guys to step up to make sure that we cover that. Okay, leadership development. Guys, I know it's been tough. I know a lot of you have been Grand Night, probably more years than you want to be, because you can't get people to step up. Well, we've got a state trainer. We've had a state trainer for a couple years now. One of our best kept secrets. His goal will be to work with you folks to get the training you need so that you can do the job that you need to do as Grand Knights and FSs, but also to help develop those people to take your place in the future so that you can just step back, let someone else be Grand Knight, and you can just go do the projects that you want to do. But to do that, we have to develop that leadership. And so that is our goal. Mike Finley is our new state trainer, and he will be contacting you. Just to be aware, we also have John Olson out of Wisconsin, who is our regional training director. He has some great training options out there right now. Check with your district deputy. I'll make sure they have the list. But we have Grand Night training going on, 101 through like 104. There's also council officer training. So if they are, chancellor, he's got a thing where he talks about what the chancellor does, what the lecturer does, what the guard and the treasurer, all that. So I remember when I was DD, I had councils ask me, well, what is this person supposed to be doing? So here's that opportunity. He has that available and it's running now. And we will continue on with those training programs throughout the entire year so that as you get people involved, they can learn about the job that they need to do and to address all the fun forms and paperwork that we have to take care of. Because if we don't do the paperwork, nobody knows what's going on. So, all right. Trust me, we will talk a lot more in the. Oh, okay. So I guess we're a little ahead of schedule. Didn't realize I was talking that fast. If we have some questions, I can field some now, and then we'll step into the other stuff here in a few minutes.
So everybody, if you've got a question, what we'll ask you to do, go ahead and raise your hand. let's see, and if you go down at the bottom under reactions, you hit that and then it'll say raise hand. So if you want to talk, and then we'll call on you and then come off mute. Or go ahead and post it in the chat and we'll be able to see it there too. So we did have one question, Scott, and I don't know if we can necessarily answer this right now, but fourth degree exemplifications.
Yes.
Do we know what the schedule is for that?
Right now, we have one in August, actually August 6th at Nativity in Indianapolis. That is our state master's official last one. We will be getting a new state master after Supreme's convention. I'm not sure exactly who's going to take that on because that's a decision above my pay grade. I know who the two options are, and they're both great. And I know that Rick will work with them to get more set up here soon. If you want to host one, just make sure you're reaching out to the state master.
All right. Come on, guys. Are you really that shy? We've covered a lot of ground. Are you still absorbing? Okay. So one's coming in on text, and if you guys have my phone number, you can text me, or again, you can throw it in chat or raise your hand. But the next question that we have is, can emails and other state and Supreme memos be translated into Spanish for Spanish councils?
The answer is we will do our best. Supreme sends out some of those memos in Spanish. And if I have that opportunity, we will copy that out. If not, we will work on getting some sort of translation in place and sharing it that way.
Go ahead, Mike, come off mute. Mike?
We're off. Marty has a question here, our DD6.
Okay.
Marty Campanella, we've got a number of grand knights and financial secretaries here in Valparaiso. You've scheduled training sessions for this coming Monday and Tuesday. They directly conflict with council meetings. Will those sessions be recorded?
You're talking about the ones from John Olson?
Yes, that is correct.
Unfortunately, he is not allowed to record those. What I would suggest is that you find a person from those councils to watch, make notes, and then they can share that with the rest of the council at the next meeting.
Okay, I understand your answer. In the future, I think some attention should be paid to the fact that the first Monday and the first Tuesday of each month are very frequently council meeting nights.
I understand. Unfortunately, pretty much every day except Friday and Saturday and Sunday is a night when councils have meetings. So, you know, John's got a schedule that he's working with that fits John's time frame. So, and we talked about it the other night. And unfortunately, Supreme will not let him record.
Thank you, Scott.
Scott, can I interming here?
Sure, Joe?
Joe Ramirez. Yeah, a couple things. First of all, on the membership online, if you click in the upper right-hand corner, everything's in Spanish, French, or English. So you can change from English to Spanish or French by clicking in that right-hand corner. When you're on membership online, everything will be in Spanish. So be sure and tell everybody that. Number two, those meetings that John has, there's no reason why state councils, the councils can't be part of them. So consider doing a Zoom meeting at one of your council meetings since Monday, Tuesday. John has 18 different jurisdictions that he's handling right now, temporary, and he can't change that. But keep in mind, councils are allowed to be at those meetings. So keep that in mind. I think that's a good thing to get them involved in, especially the council officers, church drives, all of that kind of stuff. So thank you, Scott.
Sure. And for those of you who don't know, Joe Ramirez, who was just speaking, is our regional director. So he basically works with me to make sure that whatever Supreme wants, we can accomplish.
Thrasher.
Thrasher, if you want to unmute.
Yes, sir. That was not the first time those training classes were offered by John Olson. This is the second time for the Grand Night
Yeah.
and 1, 2, and 3.
Correct. Yeah, I saw that you attended, so that was good. We do get attendance, guys, and we do recommend that you attend these training sessions. John does a great job. And like I said, it's important information that is useful. And, you know, like Joe said, everybody in the council is more than welcome to watch these. So it might be something that you could do as part of your council meeting.
We've got another texted question. Where are you anticipating new councils besides New Albany?
Okay, I've got one going here, south side of Indianapolis. I've got one going in at University of St. Francis, which should be happening here in August, which it's been in the works for a little while. We're working on 2 Hispanic councils in LaGrange and Avila. So hopefully those will happen easy enough. And then wherever else you guys can point me to, I'll be happy to go talk with the priest and get something going.
Excellent. All right, another text question. I've heard that we're down to a single roundtable form. Is that the case? And if so, when is the form due? And then is the form also needed for parish-based councils?
Okay, Mike Kovacs is our forms director. He's working on updating forms. We're trying to put a lot of this stuff electronic, so we're not wasting paper and stamps and time with the U.S. Postal Service. But my guess is the sooner you can let, Mike is also the roundtable's chairman, so the sooner you can let Mike know that you have a roundtable in place, the better, because he's going to start assigning parishes. And if he doesn't know that you are already connected with a parish, he may connect it with someone else. So please let him know as soon as possible. Really, that's all we're asking is that, because his goal is to get the existing roundtable paperwork in so that he knows, and then he can start assigning parishes after that. If your council's parish based, we should have that on file. But if you want to turn in a form that says you're at parish, you know, St. Joe, St. Anne, wherever it may be, let him know where you're at, then you won't have to worry about that parish.
The next question that we've got is anything being developed for Knights to support Ukraine refugees, especially Knights families?
Supreme has the existing Ukraine relief. Basically, it's monetary, but mostly because shipping into that area is difficult with the war going on and everything else. Basically, they're sending the money over to Poland. Poland is doing the purchasing and then getting it delivered to the border and into the Ukraine. That is probably your best option. If you go to kfc.org website, there's a link right there. If councils want to make donations, they're more than welcome. And that's an ongoing process, to my understanding, until this war goes away.
Okay, great. I will let you know to whoever sent the question about the criteria for programs. We will get to that when we cover the program piece. And then we'll take we've got a live question here, and then we're going to go ahead and resume with the membership and the programming pieces. Go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Financial help to get them settled.
Okay.
Okay. So he's replaced Father Brian. Very good. Okay, please send me an email with that as a request and work, who's your district deputy? Okay, make sure you copy Thrasher and then we'll see if we can't do something through the Charity Fund Incorporated. Don't know. Scott, are you online? Crossan?
Yes, sir, I'm here. I'm hiding.
Good.
Oh, hang on give me just a second. I just got a note. So what is going on here is, we've got our grand night from the, we have a Byzantine, Catholic church in Indianapolis. It's where Father Brian was from. They have posted a new priest who is actually, he and his family are Ukrainian refugees. And he is making an appeal for assistance. What we're doing is, we're kind of lining out what we do when we have really good cases for need. And what's required at that point is for the Grand Night to reach out to the state deputy, copying their district deputy, outlining what the specific need is. That'll be taken to our Charity Inc. team for consideration and for distribution. Okay, so when the thing that I would like to kind of throw out to everybody, Charity Inc. is just not for ultrasounds. It's just not for making sure that we're helping our friends in Louisiana or Texas or Kentucky with disaster relief. We handle quite a bit of things that, quite frankly, are not discussed because that's the way we handle it. So that's why it's important when we're talking about creating these endowments for these charitable things that we do, especially with the Charity Fund Inc., making sure that we've got enough money to respond that way in a very timely manner instead of having to go out and make an appeal. So kind of keep that in mind. So I hope that answers the question or gives you the question. Scott's given you some of the answer. I've given you some of the rationale behind it. And then I think we're good right now. Okay, and we're gonna get back to give us just a second to get everything cranked up and ready to go for membership.
Scott, this is the other Scott. What was it you wanted to ask?
I'm not sure. You had a question for Scott Carlson?
I just want to know that our health tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Rather than Ukrainian timber, whatever, right before the war.
No problem. That's fine. Okay. So. Sure. Okay, so you catch that, Scott, that they have a meeting at St. Athanasius tomorrow after Mass?
I'll be there.
Okay,
I'll be there about 12:15.
thank you.
And that, my friends, is how the Knights of Columbus get stuff done. So just, take that back with you and do that. And more importantly, make sure that Darren Shrew finds out about the good stuff that you do. So Darren's our new communication chairman. And he's working very diligently at making sure people are aware of the good work that we do. So when things like this happen, let him know. He'll get more details and we'll get that posted out. So worthy state deputy.
Okay. Thanks, guys. So Frank Joseph is our membership director. He's been so for a while. He is at work today but is listening in. So we've talked about, we're going to cover his slides for him. He'll be available if we need to get a question answered. So membership, where are we at?
Somewhere.
There we go. So far in July, we have 180 councils that have not yet recruited a member. So that's not good because that means only 16 have. 68 councils have not reported their officers for the year. That's Form 185. So if I don't have the Form 185, I'm not sure who the Grand Knight is or any of the other officers. 123 councils have not submitted their support personnel council form, Form 365. That's your program director, your family those directorships. That's important because that gives us contact information for when we have those statewide events that we can say, hey, here's an opportunity for you to piggyback on. That said, I checked this morning, we're at 50 new members as of yesterday, which is a little over one a day, but well below the 4 that we were shooting for. We're about just a little over 4% of our goal. And we, with it being the end of the first month of the fiscal year, we should be around 8. So we're about halfway of where we ought to be. So that's stated, we need to pick up the pace on that a little bit. Get out there and invite people. Star councils. So I talked to you a little bit about the fact that it's a little bit easier. The Star Council basically recognizes outstanding achievement in membership, insurance, and programming across the board for a council. And let's face it, if you're making Star Council, you've got a nice balanced approach at your council because you're doing the programs, that's part of it. You're doing the invitation of new members, that's part of it. And then you are making sure that your folks are aware of what is going on when it comes to insurance and things like that. Important thing to remember, if you want to be a Star Council, you have to have your service people, that faith director, family director. There is a safe environment program that needs to be taken care of. That's why you need that 365 turned in, because when you submit that 365, then Supreme sends them an invite to the safe environment program for them to take the training. 2 of those folks have to be background checked. It does not cost you, it does not cost the parish, it doesn't cost the council any money. That's all done by Supreme, but they want to make sure that everybody's in compliance. And that way, when you have an event and there's a child in play at the event, that your guys are there to keep an eye on things, make sure that people are behaving themselves, that sort of thing. Basically, for Star Council, you meet your membership intake goal. You submit your annual survey of fraternal activity. That's at 1728. Okay. How many hours, how many dollars that you gave in charity? Because we need that information to keep the IRS out of our pocket. Make sure you're turning in your 185s, your 365s, so we know who's doing things, and then do the programs. Used to be we had to do 24 programs a year. Now we only have to do 16. So that's nice. It's a lot easier. And they've made it so that there are certain programs that if you do, they count double. So you really can knock that down quite a bit if you do certain programs and cut that down to even less than that 16 number. Okay, so there's also the Columbian Award. This is for membership. Basically, you've got to conduct and report programs in each of the 4 areas. Wait a minute, is it? Yes, okay. I'm sorry, this is for the programming charitable outreach. So you're basically doing and this is part of that STAR, you're doing the work, going out there doing the faith, family, community, and life programs. You turn in the Columbian Award application, the SP7, that's due by June 15, so that they can process it, and then you get that award from Supreme saying that you went out and did the programming. Membership, the Father McGivney Award, that's for your membership growth. This is where you're out there inviting new members to become part of your council. Again, you've got that 5% increase that Supreme is looking for. So if you've got a council of 100, you should be looking to invite 5 new guys. I'm going to ask you to invite 10, but Supreme's only going to ask you to invite 5. And if you do that, then you would receive Father McGivney. Okay, Star District. So districts. Again, I'm asking all councils to work together with their district deputy to be a district team. The the Star District Award recognizes that the team in the district has achieved their goals. So reach 70% of the combined council membership goals. Okay, so if I've got 4 councils and they all have 100 guys, if you can reach, let's see, what's 70% of 20? Well, 14, you get to 14, then you met the Star District goal on membership. Each council earns the Founders Award, which is making sure that you do the insurance part of it and having those fraternal benefits nights. Have at least one council that achieves Star Council. And then the district deputies have to turn in their semi-annual report on the councils, which is the 944. Reminder, guys, that's due in September. It's kind of a report card to Supreme as to where the councils are at, and it gives us the opportunity to work with you to address any issues that may need to be improved and help you to do a better job as a council. Okay. Okay. We have some incentives. Right now, we are in our fast start, which is our first quarter. We're looking to grow your membership by, and this is 25% of your annual goal. So 2.5% for the state. What we're looking at is 4 members for your council. And so that's our first quarter. It'll be going to the Grand Night in the FS. I'm sorry, we're probably saying it. Your membership directors, your DDs are all going to be working together on that. We are going to provide you with some sort of swag at the end of that quarter. One thing that we are going to be looking at this year is our membership incentives are going to be gifts, whether it's some sort of swag, like a hat or a shirt, or some sort of medal, and when we get around to the bling part of it. But the goal is for those councils that can make Star, we're going to do like Supreme does, and we're going to have, instead of Supreme's Circle of Honor, we're going to have Indiana Circle of Honor. So those councils that make their goals in membership, we're going to have a special weekend where you're going to go maybe on a riverboat cruise and a picnic and all that kind of stuff. We're still working out details, but that is going to be at the end of next fiscal year. Okay, let's face it, membership. We're inviting these new men to be part of our council. We want them to be there. We want you to have an active council. When you're talking to these guys, talk about why we do what we do. Okay, we're doing it for God, we're doing it with God, and we're doing it for God's glory. All right, we really want them to be involved in accomplishing. We're not inviting them to join a meeting. I know I hear a lot of guys, oh, I can't get anybody to meet. What we want to do is make sure we have the guys show up for the events. All right. And the main thing, if you get somebody in there and they say, hey, I really want to do this, let them be the guy leading it. And that way, then it's, well, I just need you to come to the meeting and tell us where we're at. Give us an update, and then you'll have people at your meeting. Our mission as Knights really is to provide that charitable outreach that evangelizes. All right. We care. We want to be the person who's there when someone passes and to help that family move on and make sure that they're cared for. That was the mission of Father McGivney. You know, father passes away, and what do we do with the wife and children? Online membership. The free online membership has been extended. It will go at least through the end of the first quarter. The code now is Blessed McGivney, which is a little bit new. It is just Blessed McGivney. Don't worry about the capital letters. So Blessed BLESSED, McGivney, MCGIVNEY. Any combinations, uppercase, lowercase, that will get you in. Okay. And that brings us to the end of membership. We're going to pass this over to Dave Negrete to talk programs.
All right, good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Dave Negrete. I'm the State Program Director. I just want to begin by thanking all of you for giving up your Saturday morning to join us on this virtual meeting. My goal is to help each Grand Knight, their officers, and their councils attain success in every endeavor that you set upon. As I often tell new members upon the conclusion of their exemplification, when I challenge them to get the Shining Armor Award, yeah, we are all volunteers, but you get out of the Knights what you put into the Knights. Gentlemen, as council leaders, your councils either benefit or deteriorate by how much or how little effort you put into it. As I told the district deputies at our summer meeting, complacency and a negative attitude toward trying something new or different is a recipe for disaster. Avoid these pitfalls and remember your district deputy, your diocesan director, and your state programming team are here to help you. Up first is an update about the state program guide. We are currently working on the finishing touches, and when it is finished, it will be sent out via email to all the state council email accounts along with the rest of the state council. To cut down on printing and shipping costs, the program guide will not be printed and mailed out. Again, I want to reiterate, the state program guide will be sent electronically via email to all the council's state issued email accounts. If you have not been using it, start doing so now. If you wish for multiple people to receive information from your state issued email account, simply turn on the email forwarding tool and enter your personal email address, and the mail to the state issued account will be forwarded to your personal one or whatever email address you type in there. My goal is to have the program guide finalized and out to go in the next couple of days, possibly week. Your state family director is Evan Yearwood. Your state community director is John Sandwell. Your state life director is Larry Kunkel, and your state faith director is Joe Paul Hayden. Your 4 directors will be working on a new initiative this year as set forth by our state deputy. In each area of the Faith in Action program, these directors will be working on setting up a statewide activity that all Brother Knights and their families can participate in. One of the activities we are working on, for instance, is a 40 Days for Life overnighter. Another activity is having a Knights Day at Holiday World. As I mentioned, we will be putting together some more activities, and when we have these finalized, we will let you know. We will also be extending invitations to our online membership in Indiana, along with our brothers who are in our affiliate program. Speaking of something statewide that everyone can participate in right now, is going to your local BMV and purchasing a Knights of Columbus license plate. We are currently on probation with the state as we have not sold the target number of plates required to continue. We need to sell some 500 plus plates by the end of the year, otherwise the special plate will be discontinued. There were a lot of Brother Knights who signed a petition originally asking the state to provide the specialty plate. A lot of signatures on that petition haven't purchased one yet. A portion of the sales goes to our Indiana KFC charity fund. Please, brothers, do your part and encourage our membership to purchase a plate for their vehicle or motorcycle. Now, I'd like to turn your attention back to Faith in Action program for a couple of moments. How would you like to cut your workload in half and still obtain the 16 points necessary for the Columbian Award? Well, you can do that by focusing on the featured programs highlighted in the Faith in Action program book. There are a few activities that you can pursue that will get you 2 credit points. For example, every year, the 4 dioceses in Indiana and the Archdiocese of Indianapolis host a one-day event that are billed as a men's conference. These type of events qualify for the spiritual reflection event under the faith portion of Faith in Action. If every council sent a minimum of 10 guys to their diocesan event, you would obtain 2 credit points. Now you're halfway to your goal of the 4 points for the faith category. And the benefit of participating far exceeds anything that you could have hoped for. It is awesome to go to these events and see various Knights of Columbus polo shirts and know that we are united not only in our faith, but we are united in brotherhood. We also serve as an inspiration for those Catholic men who haven't been invited yet to be a part of our order. In the faith category, there are 4 programs you can participate in that will give you 2 credits. They are the RSVP program, the Holy Hour program, Into the Breach, and Spiritual Reflection. In the family portion for Faith in Action, the featured activities are Food for Families, Family of the Month, Family Fully Alive, and Family Prayer Night. In the community portion, The featured programs are Coats for Kids, Global Wheelchair Mission, and Habitat for Humanity. In the life portion, the featured programs are March for Life, Special Olympics, Pregnancy Center Support, and Ultrasound Initiative. All forms for these featured programs can be found at the Supreme website, www.kfc.org/FIA forms. If you need that again, please send me an email and I will send it to you. All programs are separate and cannot be double counted. Example, the Into the Breach program cannot be conducted in order to also satisfy the program requirements for the Building the Domestic Church Kiosk program. So if you are unsure about any activities or any procedures for those activities, please contact one of the 4 directors for Faith in Action here at the state, or contact me and we will get you set up with what you need. Finally, we are continuing to work on making everyone's life a little easier by attempting to convert our forms on our website so you can fill them out online. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some housekeeping procedures and some other things like that. PDFs of these forms will continue to be available for those who must absolutely fill out a form and email it in, but our goal is to do everything electronically. Your new forms chairman for the state is Mike Kovacs, and he is working with our IT administrator to implement this goal. Continue to look at the state website to see when forms become available in that online format. As a reminder, when filling out any form, whether it's a Supreme form or a state form, you should always send a copy to your district deputy, the state forms chairman, and myself. If you are filing a 10784 activity report, a copy should also be sent to the appropriate director who oversees the area that the activity is under. For example, community activity reports should be sent directly to the state community director in addition to your district deputy, state forums chairman, and myself. The 4 Faith in Action directors at state will track your progress and then in turn report to me. Every month, the state activity tracker will be posted with your progress. If we are missing information, then make sure you send us a copy. We too are human and sometimes things do slip through the cracks. That's why it's always important for all councils to retain copies of reports submitted in case this happens. I know I sound like a broken record on this subject, but ever since Supreme Council initiated the 10784 activity report, their goal has been to oversee which councils are doing things and which councils have become stagnant and not turning in activity forms. In reporting to Supreme your good works and deeds, it is not imperative for them to copy the state council on your progress, meaning that we do not see copies of these reports that you send in. That is why it is imperative that you send us an email with your PDF copy of your submitted activity report. Gentlemen, if you have any questions or you need any guidance, please feel free to reach out to me and I will try to assist in every way. For new Grand Knights, financial secretaries, and district deputies, my advice to you is to first familiarize yourself with the manuals and booklets that Supreme Council has made available to all of us. Second, when we finalize the state program guide, it will serve as your go-to guidebook. 90% of all questions you can think of can be answered by reading the state program guide. If you can't find the answer, get a hold of your district deputy. If your district deputy doesn't know the answer, he will in turn go to your diocesan chairman. If the diocesan chairman doesn't have the answer, he will come to myself, Larry, Evan, or Joe Paul. Guys, thank you for your attention this morning and thank you for everything that you do for the Knights of Columbus. Vivat Jesu.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to have Bobby Williams from the Women's Care Center Foundation speaking with you about what we are trying to accomplish with them.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm going to need a little bit of help with changing the slides. And so I don't know if that's Walter or whatever, but I'll give you a prompt. But gentlemen, great. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you to Scott, who I was very blessed to meet about a month ago down in Indianapolis. Just really, really impressed. And I was very, very grateful that he allowed me the opportunity to kind of share our vision and our shared vision with the Knights. And I wanted to do a quick shout out to Walter, who's helped me with my PowerPoint as well. Gentlemen, just a brief history on the Women's Care Center. And I think it's a history. A lot of you may not know just the full scope of who we are and what we do. It was back in 1984. There was a young professor at the University of Notre Dame, Dr. Janet Smith, a famous Catholic theologian, who was approached by a young student who found herself unexpectedly pregnant. That woman is from California. She was trying to choose life, but she needed help. Now, the man who made a baby with her was really no man at all, because when he found out that he and his girlfriend had conceived a child, his response was, "Here's $600, go get rid of it." And so this young lady's trying to do the right thing. She went to Dr. Smith and said, "Can you help me?" Well, Janet surveyed the local landscape, which what we call Michiana up here in northern Indiana. And to her dismay, saw that although there were local agencies that would help a woman terminate a pregnancy, there was no agency that existed to help a young mother, not only for the 9 months before birth, but most importantly, for years after the birth of the child, to create a self-sufficient, self-supporting family. So Janet went to the local Catholic hospital. They raised a little bit of money, and the first Women's Care Center was opened in June 1984. Now, at the time, Janet did something that was revolutionary, because she bought the building right next door to the neighborhood abortionist. Now, so many people were like, "Well, why would you do that? That seems so controversial." But her answer was very simple. If they can be there, we can be there. And we will be an option. We will be a peaceful, life-affirming choice next door. Not to picket, not to protest, but to provide hope, to provide a true choice for women. And they vote with their feet. Well, that first year in 1984, the Women's Care Center saw 300 women. Fast forward now 38 years, the Women's Care Center now has 34 locations in 12 states. We now see over 450 women a day. So we went from 300 women the first year. We now see over 450 women a day, making us unequivocally the largest pregnancy resource center in the United States. We see more women in a day than the average crisis pregnancy center sees in a year. And it's all by the grace of God, the support of so many friends and neighbors, and dare I say, most importantly, by the long time support we've had from the Knights of Columbus, especially through the ultrasound program, which has just been invaluable to our ministry. Now, if we could go a slide or two to the one that says "Why Women's Care Center." Keep going. One more. Right there. Thank you. What's special about Women's Care Center, and why consider helping us more? Well, number one, it's truly Catholic. Of the over 3,000 pregnancy centers in the United States, and they're all doing great things, and they're all life affirming, and they all help women choose life for their babies. Of those 3,000 pregnancy centers in the United States, less than 10% of them are Catholic based. Most are evangelical based. And to that end, we are very blessed throughout the country to have 9 different bishops, archbishops, and a cardinal serve on our various boards of directors, including your national chaplain, Archbishop Laurie, who serves as the chairman of our Women's Care Center board in Baltimore. Bishop Kevin Rhodes from Diocese Fort Wayne South Bend is our national chairman of our center in South Bend. Archbishop Thompson in Indianapolis serves on our Indianapolis board. So ours is a truly Catholic ministry, and so blessed again to partner with all of you. But another reason why we ask for your consideration of additional help and support and partnership is, gentlemen, this just works. 9 out of 10 of our young mothers ultimately choose life for their babies. Once we get them to ultrasound, that choose life rate bounces between 95 to 96% choose life rate. This just works. In every community we serve, abortions plummet. So we would ask, why not consider doing more of a great thing? Now, if we could go on to the next slide, please. Great. Let's talk about the Women's Care Center here in the Hoosier state. Of our 34 locations in 12 states, 16 of them are right here, our home. This is where we do most of our work. Last year, well, in the last 365 days, 12,679 ultrasounds, with 95% of those young moms choosing life. In the last year alone, 8,525 babies born to Women's Care Center moms saved from abortion. thanks to this partnership. What is 85-25 babies saved? That's 23 precious children a day, 365 days a year. So I would ask all of you to tell all of your chapters and all your brother knights through the ultrasound program, your partnership with the Women's Care Center, you are, by God's grace and your hard work, saving a classroom of children every single day. You'd be hard pressed to find any other way that you can do as much good as you can and have by your loving support of Women's Care Center. This just works. Now, to give you a little bit deeper dive into what we're doing in Indiana, I'll just touch on a few communities. Well, first of all, it's an incredible stat. Every 9th child born in the entire state of Indiana starts at and receives significant assistance from the Women's Care Center. 1 in 9. That's 1 in 6 babies born to single moms, 1 in 3 babies born to teen moms. But let me tell you a few other statistics that are not on this slide. Do you know that every 6th child born in Marion County, Indiana starts with us? So when you walk around town in the largest city in this state, every 6th child born basically started at the corner of 86 and Georgetown. Do you know in Elkhart County, it's every 3rd child. In Allen County, Fort Wayne, every 4th child. And in Northern Indiana, which is LaPorte and St. Joe County, every other baby born in Northern Indiana starts at the Women's Care Center. So we have tremendous breadth of reach. It's 1 in 4 in Monroe County, where we have a center in Bloomington. So by God's grace and your support, we're doing a lot of good, but we've got a lot of work to do. Now, if we could go to the next slide, please, just some of our goals. With an increased partnership with the Knights of Columbus, and if we can start to build our endowment, which is so important, because without an endowment, we cannot continue to meet our daily obligations. We cannot continue to grow. But we've got big plans. Some of those plans in the next few years is we're hoping to open a second center in Indianapolis. The center at 86 in Georgetown is the largest and most life-saving pregnancy resource center in the United States. There is no pregnancy center from coast to coast that sees more women and saves more babies than 86 in Georgetown. But gentlemen, it's at capacity. We see close to 50 women a day in Indianapolis, over 2,200 babies born there just last year. And we need in time to have a second center in Indianapolis. The last major metropolitan area we presently don't have a Women's Care Center presence is in Evansville. But by God's grace and your support, one day we hope to open in Evansville. But all of these things come at a pretty significant cost. The average Women's Care Center annual operating budget can run anywhere from $400,000 a year up to $1 million. Now that's a lot of money, but I'd ask you again, is there any better return on anyone's investment than to literally save 23 babies a day, 365 days a year? This is what we do. So our goal is to help to build our endowment or a nest egg. Now, why an endowment? Well, because it helps create revenues for today. It helps the moms and babies of tomorrow. And most importantly, it gives us the security and the resources we need to continue to grow, to continue to dream, and to help more moms and babies. Because I'm telling you, especially on the heels of Roe v. Wade, we know we will be busier than ever. In every other community across the United States where we have a women's care center, where the local abortionist or Planned Parenthood has closed, our average uptick in client services goes up about 30%. We know we're going to see more moms than ever before when abortions are restricted in the state of Indiana. Keep in mind, abortion's never going to go away. More than half of the states, it will probably always be legal. And women in Indiana are a short car ride away from Michigan or Illinois. So all the more reason why we need to double down on what works here in the Hoosier state. Now, if we could go a couple slides further. Go one more, please.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
One quick last thing that was on that slide that you may not have seen. Our goal as the Knights of Columbus in Indiana is a $10 million endowment over the next 10 years. I don't think that means we have to raise $1 million each year, guys. We're going to start off and we're going to do what we can on this endowment. The endowment will grow on its own because of it. An endowment is an investment, so that investment will grow. And with the ASAP program, the Aid and Support After Pregnancy program, up to $2,000 per council is matched at a I forget what is it, 20%. Thank you. So if you raise 5,000, we get an extra $1,000 towards that endowment. Okay, Bobby, you're back.
Scott, I thank you for that. It's incredible that the most important line on that slide, I did not see, but that is our goal. And just imagine, gentlemen, when the endowment a few years down the road, through your brave efforts, grows to levels like that, it will be producing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in life affirming support to the moms and babies and to the families here in Indiana. That sort of support helps us open second centers in Indianapolis, new centers in Evansville, and most importantly, makes it so every young mother who comes through our doors will be loved in an unconditionally loving, non-judgmental way, in a true Catholic way, in a way that 95% of them will ultimately choose life into the world, either to parent or place for adoption. And we're very big on adoption. As a matter of fact, the Women's Care Center provides more babies for adoption services than any other agency in the state of Indiana. We also have a significant emphasis on creating strong, self-sufficient two-parent families. We want dad involved. We have parenting classes. Over 1,000 Indiana moms and dads a week come to Women's Care Center parenting classes. So, gentlemen, in conclusion, why Women's Care Center and why we ask for you to prayerfully consider joining Scott and all of us to help build that endowment is because we're asking you to double down on what works, double down on what has been proven to be the most effective method at decreasing abortions and saving lives. It's the pregnancy centers. 9 out of 10 of our young mothers choose life. And as Scott mentioned earlier, especially in these times since Roe v. Wade, when the other side, forces on the other side are saying, oh, you're just pro-birth, but what about these kids after they're born? Well, we know that implication is not true, but we also know that as more and more babies are saved from abortion, it is our duty to have support for them for the years after the birth of their child. The average contact with the Women's Care Center goes between 4 to 5 years after the birth of a child. We're going to help them every step of the way. As long as they need us, we will be there. But in this post-Roe world, we need to continue to provide this support, because not only because it's the right thing to do, but because we know it works. It is our duty to love and support these families. These women are bravely choosing life under difficult circumstances. We got to be there to support them, to create these strong, self-sufficient families. But in conclusion, I would say, why Women's Care Center, and why should we double down on what works? Why should we try to help build this nest egg, strengthen the partnership between this Catholic Pregnancy Center and the Knights? Well, I'll go back to the words that my former bishop, John Michael Darcy, told me 20 years ago when I was talking to him about abortion, and I was seeking his counsel. And Bishop Darcy, and I'm sure a lot of you remember him, he was a pro-life hero. And he said, Bobby, the abortion issue is only going to be solved in 3 ways. He said, number 1, the most important thing all of us can do is pray. Prayer. Keep going to our Lord, going to his mother, praying for these young mothers to find pregnancy centers, to bravely choose life. But the number 1 thing we can do to continue to solve the abortion issue is prayer. Bishop Darcy said the number 2 method to work on this issue is legislative advocacy. That's what Right to Life does. They do a wonderful job of it. They're the ones that for the last 50 years have worked tirelessly to make it harder on the abortionists, harder on Planned Parenthood to do what they do to protect women. They're the ones that got Roe v. Wade overturned, about a month ago. And so that's a very, very important part of this, is to continue to work legislatively to protect families from the evil of abortion. But number 3, and this is what we really need to focus on here, what Bishop Darcy said was the third thing, beyond prayer, beyond advocacy and legislation, where the rubber really meets the road is in the pregnancy center, because it's in the pregnancy center where the woman comes. It's in the pregnancy center where she receives support. It's in the pregnancy center where her heart is touched. And it's in the pregnancy center is where the babies are saved. It really is where the rubber meets the road. Bishop Darcy says, Bobby, the Women's Care Center and pregnancy centers like it, it's the Latin term acta non verba, deeds, not words. The pregnancy centers are the deeds in the pro-life movement. And I thank you, Brother Knights, for your prayer, advocacy, and most importantly, your potential increased support to help us help so many moms and babies. With that, again, Scott, thank you so much. God bless all of you. And that really is the end of my presentation. So
Thank you, Bobby. Couple quick things, guys. Legislature, I sent out an email earlier this week. Please contact your senators, your representatives. Tell them that SB1 needs to be improved, that it needs to be more pro-life. As it stands right now, there's so many loopholes and exceptions that it really does nothing. We had a great rally down at the State House on Tuesday, but we still need to keep after them to make that a stronger bill. Secondly, Indiana with the Women's Care Center, the endowment that we're going to put together will be focused on the Indiana Women's Care Centers. I will be reaching out to the state deputies in the other 11 states, if I remember correctly, about doing the same thing in their states, working with the Women's Care Centers in Pennsylvania and Georgia, Kansas, and all the other states that they're in. So that they hopefully we can get them to do the same thing. And then lastly, we're going to be putting together a quick form so we can track where this is going, and then also give you the information on how to put money into this endowment. By the way, the endowment's name will be known as the Cancer Endowment for the Women's Care Centers. So we're looking forward to working our way to that $10 million here soon. Thank you. Thank you again, Bobby. We'll now move on to Jabal. Michelle, are you ready? Do we have...
She's on. She's on.
I certainly am.
Oh, perfect.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we.
Okay, are we ready?
Fire away.
Okay, I'm going to get started. I do have a PowerPoint that I will go through to assist everyone in kind of learning a little bit of information. But before I do that, I'm really thankful that I was just able to listen to the presentation prior to me, because I think of Jabal as a continuum of care. And I have a lot of children that I still stay in touch with that have been foster care children, many of them with parental rights terminated. And one of the things that I'm fighting right now is this continuous conversation about, with the overturning of Roe versus Wade, we'll just have more foster care kids now and more kids in the system. And I find that to be very hurtful to foster care kids and children with their parental rights terminated, because they are saying things to me like, does that mean people think I should have been aborted because I have trauma issues and I'm a kid that has maybe made some inappropriate decisions and I need help? And I always say that is definitely not what many organizations out there think, and that is definitely never what anybody here at Jabal thinks, and anybody working to make sure that the Roe versus Wade overturning, doesn't get some very strange thoughts and opinions out there. But it's very hurtful to foster care children and very hurtful to children that have had their parental rights terminated to think that they shouldn't be here. So I'm going to kind of follow a PowerPoint here. If we have anybody that is new to kind of what Jabalt's role is in our connection with the Knights of Columbus, that's what I'm going to try to go over. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Jabot was founded by the Indiana Knights of Columbus in 1921. And the Brothers of Holy Cross actually were in charge of Jabot until the early 1980s. After that, Jabot had a lot of changes that occurred, but they really weren't, I don't think that there were changes maybe that the brothers were necessarily 100% on board with, but a lot of things happened from a state level. So we had changes in management, we had changes in payer sources, we had changes with state regulations, things of that nature. But where the Knights are super important and continue to be important, and a lot of people that I talk to when I'm at the state convention, they do not realize this, that Jabot's bylaws are very strict about how the Knights are included in still sponsoring and oversight of Jabot. Our board chair is a current past state deputy. The Knights of Columbus are, oh, go to, no, not next page yet. I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Okay, please do switch to the next slide for me. Thank you. So where I'm going to kind of conclude as to how the Knights are included here is our bylaws require that 9 of our board members must be Knights of Columbus. 3 of them are chosen at the state convention. My board chairman has always been a past state deputy. We also have special attendees, which are individuals such as the Indiana Knights of Columbus, state advocate, state secretary. The board evaluates me yearly. So there's a high Catholic influence there as well. And we just really have a lot of investment from the Knights throughout the entire year, and the way that the council support us as well. So the Catholic sponsorship and support has never gone away from Jabot. It continues. And I try when I'm at either council meetings or the state convention to make sure that our board members stand up and are recognized, so that everyone in the room can see how many Knights of Columbus in the room are active on Jabot's board. So Jabot provides several different programs, and I'm going to just kind of touch base on this. I won't go through in great detail. But our treatment programs consist of our care program, which is boys and girls that are referred to us by either the Department of Children's Services, probation, Department of Education. We have a program called PASS, that's our pro-social adolescent treatment, assists children with sexually maladaptive issues. Our ABLE is our specialized autism program. Our PRTF is our locked psychiatric, and we also provide outpatient therapy to our community. We have a family visitation court agreement. So an example of that would be maybe parents that are not getting along, divorced, and the court has ordered them to have visitation with their children, but the mom has to come first to meet with the child, and then she leaves, and then dad comes later, and we supervise those visits to make sure that nothing inappropriate is taking place. And then we have to report back to the court. It's an actual grant through our county. We also have adult sober living. That is not a huge revenue source for us, but it is a serious community need, and the judges really like our program and our setup. A lot of the individuals that are getting ready to be maybe sent to jail because maybe they've had 2 DUIs or 3 DUIs or repetitive offenses, they may come into our program instead of having to go to jail, but they're strictly monitored by the court system. So if they do not follow our rules or do not participate, they will come and pick them up and take them back to jail. We do not accept anyone into our adult sober living that is on the sex offender registry. And then we also have independent living skills groups that we work with our children on. Unfortunately, a lot of children in our care around the age of 13 or 14, when we are working with their family, we recognize that, oh boy, this kid might actually be almost the head of household when he returns due to functioning of parent, etc. So we teach a tremendous amount of skills. I have a 25-year-old son, and I wish I would have put him through our independent living skills group. Okay, next screen. Jabot, because we provide a great deal of therapy to children, especially children that have been seriously traumatized, we have licensed clinical therapists on our staff. We do not partner with a community mental health center like some agencies do. We have our own that are there so that somebody is on call 24 hours a day. They have a lot of credentials, a lot of specialized programming that is provided to our children. We have a lot of master's level licensed individuals, and then we have master's level working on licensure, which is great for our organization. And then we are designated within the past year as an Indiana qualified residential treatment program. There was a federal regulation that passed referred to as Family First, and it requires all residential treatment facilities in the country to be qualified residential treatment for funding to come down to the state to be able to pay for children to come into our services. If you are not designated a QRTP, they are not supposed to place children into that type of facility. So we were fortunate because we obtained that relatively quickly. Next slide, please. Jabot also has their own on-grounds accredited school. A lot of times when children come into our care, they haven't been in school, or they are so far behind in school that they have to enter into either our credit recovery program, which is a national program, or they have to work with our teachers toward possibly getting them back into school in the community. Some of them actually are pretty far along, even along with maybe the trauma and the issues that they've had and missing school, that they do work really hard and end up graduating from our high school, which is Holy Cross, with a Core 40 diploma. This past Friday, we had graduation for 2 students that graduated from high school. Next slide, please. Clients, also known as our kids, our children. We accept kids from age 6 to 21. This might be a frightening thing to face, but we are seeing a lot more 6, 7, and 8-year-olds coming into Jabot. And we have had 6-year-olds that have entered into Jabot that didn't know how to tie their shoes, and they weren't potty trained yet. So that should be kind of a big surprise to the outside world. To us, it's no longer a big surprise, but it still is a little shocking when a child enters into our care so young and they haven't been taught a lot of the basic skills that all of us would have known to teach our children. IQ must be 65 or higher. I'm just going to say there that we have a pretty strong intensive treatment team, also made up of a psychologist, that determines IQ, but also processing, things of that nature, whether or not the child's appropriate for our placement. So an entire team makes that decision. Next slide, please. Here is where the job is getting a little bit more difficult. I always say that when I first started back in end of the 80s, early 90s, we dealt with a lot of conduct disorder kids, children that broke into cars, skipped school, stole things. the dynamics of our children has changed tremendously, and it is getting to be a much more difficult job. We are seeing an increase in children with no family connections. Parental rights have been terminated, a high increase in mental illness, attachment disorders, a lot of increase in neurological disorders where we are having to transport children to Indianapolis to see special doctors. Dual diagnosis children. That means, you know, a child maybe with bipolar, but also attention deficit disorder. A lot of health issues, and unfortunately, a lot of children entering into our care who've never been to a doctor or dentist, and that is surprising to us, but it does happen. So next slide. So along with that, we then see an increase in obviously negative behavior. Children that have been traumatized often do not know, haven't been taught any social boundaries or what appropriate behavior is. So we're seeing an increase in aggression, a very large increase in attempted suicide, suicidal thoughts, and loss of hope. I think daily I receive an email telling me that 2 or 3 children are on what we refer to as special precautions. That means that somebody has eyes on them at all times. They're not sleeping in their room. We're pulling their mattress out, making sure they're sleeping in front of someone, removing items from the room, things of that nature. Next slide, please. So then along with that comes the great staff challenges that we're having right now with the workforce shortages that are occurring throughout pretty much the entire country. So I was told yesterday that in 2019, we had 201 staff. In 2020, we had 180. 2020, 180, 2021, we had 170, and in 2022, we have 131. So we have some dormitories closed right now that we can't open to serve children. We are not the only facility. Every facility in the entire state does not have enough open beds because of a staff shortage. And then that means that the Department of Children's Services will make crazy decisions also because they don't have enough places to place children. And if you would like to know what a crazy decision by DCS was that I just heard recently, is I have a friend that's a CEO in Southern Indiana, and they were working with a family and both parents were drug addicts and they were refusing to attend treatment. And the Department of Children's Services decided that the plan would be when the child returned home, mom would watch the child when dad was high, but when dad was high, mom would watch the child, which is just absolutely ludicrous. There are children sleeping on Department of Children's Services couches, and there are children sitting in hospital beds with nowhere to go. So we are working with legislators. I just got back from DC speaking with congressional members. We're working with state legislators on this workforce shortage issue, because when your salary is based off of your cost reports and you're paying your staff close to what maybe fast food is starting to pay, that's not a good situation. So our dedicated, extremely dedicated staff are obviously, you know, experiencing some burnout. And when you're working with increasingly difficult children, then that is when mistakes will begin to happen. So we are working really hard to try to make a lot of changes. I do have an actual meeting on August 9th with the governor's person in charge, basically Cora Steinsman, and I will be meeting with her to discuss some of these issues. Next slide. So I'm going to leave you with this. You have to love children. I am fortunate, extremely fortunate, that all of my direct reports have been with me for over 19 years, I believe, except for 2 that have replaced somebody that retired over numerous years. So you definitely have to have a love for children. Next slide, please. So for those of us that have been with Bolt for over 15 years, and that number's many, we love our job. And this really is, we do really view this as part of our family and our day-to-day operations, because you do not want to come to work with children that might cuss at you, hit you, spit on you while they're working through their trauma. This job is not for everyone. It is an incredibly difficult job, and you have to have a love and a dedication for working with children that are not your well-behaved children. But then again, if all these children were well-behaved, Jabolt wouldn't exist. So we are here for a reason. We continue to believe we are on the continuum of care. There is a fight to prevent women from getting abortions. There is a fight to work with parents to be better parents. There is a fight to remove children from homes where the parents just absolutely are not appropriate for the child. And then, that is a continuum of care to where we wish to be on that continuum so that we can prevent children from ending up in long-term psychiatric or prisons. So I thank you for the time that you provided me today, and I hope that was a good description of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Gentlemen, just to be aware, there will be the annual appeal letter coming out soon from me. It's been written. They're just going to the printers to get everything copied and mailed. So please be generous. Jabolt, as she said, is a continuum. We're dealing with life with our pro-life and providing the ultrasounds. We're dealing with life, working with Women's Care Center to help these young children have a good life. And then we have Jabolt to help those children that perhaps don't get the good life. So we've got lots more to cover on that. Okay, so we're going to start in with our we're going to start in with our question and answers at this point.
Gentlemen, we'll do it the same way. So we have a couple parking lot questions. You can text if you're online and you want to speak that way. Go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get your questions. Very good. Alrighty. So out of the parking lot. Hey, Jim, come on around here and ask your question. All right, then I'll ask it for you. Okay, so Jim is asking, so Jim's here in the room with us in Greenwood. Looking at the criteria for programs, we are already behind the power curve as new officers due to the late receipt of materials and training and due dates of forms, which we do not even know about until we finally get the materials. Is it possible that due dates can be pushed back until training is done? And then he added an additional piece that even though he stated programs, he's also referring to required stay forms.
Sure. Jim, that's the whole point of having the 185 in right after the elections, as well as the 365, so we can get that information to you quickly and help you get so that you're not behind the curve. That said, we understand deadlines, but we also understand that sometimes things are going to run behind because of that situation. So just as you get to them, get them turned in. And I ask that you try to meet the deadlines, but if you can't, we understand sometimes that it's a little bit of a delay. Just don't forget to do them. Okay. Yes.
Reason I asked, according to material I got,
yes.
Service program, personality support, we're all due before I started.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
This first one I mentioned, we don't do in our concert until the
Sure, they can't hear what you're saying. So what you just told me was that 365, your service personnel, and your SP7 were due before you started here in July. The SP7 should have been covered by the previous grant night. With regards to service personnel, if you look at Supreme's guidelines, they asked for it to be in August 1. So they're giving you that month to figure that out. that said, hopefully you've met here in July. And again, just fill it out as you can. If you only have, let's say you don't have everyone's name, turn in what you have, and then you can follow up with a second form to update as you get those other people in place. But you got to get those people in place so that we can get them through, so that you can be a star council.
All right. We did have a question and I didn't get my texter's name, but he's got a Louisville phone number, so I'm assuming he's down there in New Albany. But the question is how bad is the financial picture at Gibraltar? And one of the things that I can tell you is we had the Gibraltar board meeting last week. Gibraltar is actually is solidly footed as far as their finances are concerned. But the thing that I will tell you is they are not bulletproof. As far as Michelle was talking about, we got a really good idea that the changing landscape with the state and the federal makes it challenging as far as trying to to have a really good knowledge of how much money they actually need to do things. And especially with all the staffing challenges that are going on right now. So that being said, while they are doing okay, they're not in a position that we can say, oh, they're good for the next century. So that's why it's even more critical that the Indiana Knights of Columbus are working as hard as we can to make sure that Gibraltar's here for the next 100 years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The Knights have worked hard to put Gibraltar on good financial footing, but that means we have to keep working to make sure it stays there.
Alrighty, hey, Gil, come on off mute and go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know. Hey, Rich, turn off. Mute yourself, Rich.
Okay, hey, Gil, text me your question. I'll take care of.
Bottom left. That good? All right.
We got a bad echo there, Gil.
Hey, Rich, cover your mic.
There we go. It's Ratsky.
Okay, give it another check.
Is that better?
That's better.
All right. Hey, I had a couple questions real quick. First of all, I want to thank Michelle for all she did for the Gibraltar part. But I did have a few people asking about the Gibraltar Envoy Conference coming up and the invites for that and who can go. So if she can answer something with that.
I most definitely can. That is going to be on September 10th, and the invites will be going out to all of the councils. Any Knights of Columbus is welcome to come, even with family members. The information that will be coming in the mail will usually goes to the envoys for the envoy to distribute to the councils, as I believe how that works. I will verify that with my fund development, but that's how we've done it in the past. And then individuals can fill out the form and tell us whether or not they're bringing any family members or, how many are going to be in attendance. It breaks it down as to whether or not you're going to attend lunch, dinner, mass, the hospitality room, things of that nature. It's spelled out in pretty good detail for you, and that should be coming out to all of the envoys to be distributed to the councils.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. I also wanted to add that the per capita invoices are currently going out, and those should be sent to me just to avoid any conflicts, because I know some people have been asking where to send them, but it'll be at the top of the billing statement, so I'll be sending those out. And please make the checks out correctly too. Towards the end of last year here, we had a number of people that incorrectly filled out the checks and the bank wouldn't cash them. So those are my only two comments for everything. Thank you.
Oh, Jerry, hold on. We'll get to you. I see you waving.
Nick Shutt, come off mute.
Good. Hey, just one question in regards.
There you go. Mute the TV.
Actually, two questions regarding Gibraltar. First of all, do we receive any support from the state of Indiana for Gibraltar? And the second question is there anyone looking into any grants from the state and or Fed in regards to Gibraltar?
Yes, I'll answer your second question first. We belong to numerous organizations to apply for grants. We do receive different grants through both of our corporations here at Gibraltar and also our nursing home. Examples of grants that we've received recently is we received a $35,000 Homeland Security grant, which assisted us in putting up additional gates, driving gates around our campus. When the size of our campus is 400 acres, we utilize about 164, and we are trying to eliminate having all of these open spaces that a possible active shooter could come onto our campus and cause some great harm. We've had a grant money at our nursing home that has gone into providing new beds, new medical beds for all of our nursing home residents there. Other examples is we've received a $30,000 grant from Bomba's Socks that they sent socks that go out to our children. So we have a grant writer that applies for federal and state grants regularly. And then do we receive state assistance? So the way that placements occur here at Gibraltar is we're no longer an orphanage. Obviously, we can't be, or we wouldn't be even open. So children are placed with us by Indiana Department of Children's Services or probation, and the state pays a daily per diem for those children to come into our care. The nights donations yearly are included in our budget. So if we were to lose the donations from the nights, then we would probably be in worse condition than what we are. So yes, that is how it runs. I personally would love to be back in the day to where we provided services here at Gibraltar the way that the Knights originally founded us, but then we would be out of business and the property would go back to the Knights immediately, because a lot of the things that we're seeing with kids, the medical issues that have to be covered by state funding, the placements, the way that we're required by the state to do our cost reports, the regulations that the state implements, not just our state, all states throughout the whole country, the way that they implement the way that things have to be run, and you have to have a contract with them as well to even keep your doors open. Does that answer your question a little better?
It does. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now it brings up one other question though. So we have 400 and some acres there, and we're only using like 140 acres. What are we doing with the rest of it? Is it just land dormant, or can?
No, we have an FFA contract with the airport for utilization space there, and we have farmland that we collect money from the farming, and then some of it is woods. So it kind of goes around in a large circle, and we have buildings spread out throughout. Another area that we purchased a couple years ago, which was 35 additional acres. Our main reason for purchasing that was so that we really didn't have a business that built up maybe like a car lot or something to where our kids could run and cause damage to that area on the other side of that property. But we do bring in regular farm income yearly from numerous acres that we farm out.
And you feel like that would be the best way to gain revenue versus maybe selling it now while land and property is at an all-time high?
Well, that wouldn't be up to me. That would be up to the Knights of Columbus. We are nonprofit also. So if we were to go out of business, the property automatically goes back to the Knights of Columbus. So that would be truly a board decision that they would have to make. I get a little bit nervous about selling property that brings businesses closer to us when we have, I mean, a lawsuit for a kid's running away and damaging property can be pretty high also. But yes, I understand where you're coming from. But that would be our board.
Yeah, we've had some issues. There's a neighborhood nearby, and at one point the kids were running into that neighborhood, and so that's part of the reason the fence there now, keep those kids from getting into areas they shouldn't be.
Yeah, And we are not a detention center. I need to make that clear. We are not licensed as detention. So the only buildings that we have that are locked from the inside are our locked psychiatric, but they must by law have a 30-second delay on the inside of them. Our other buildings are locked from the outside, but not the inside. So children are able to push the door open and run. And I just had this conversation with my staff recently. When you are a child that parental rights have been terminated and you have very little hope, sometimes attempting to run away is where you feel like you have the most control. So that is why we have added a tremendous amount of fencing around our organization. Actually, they just finished another $150,000 worth of fencing last week that goes around the front portion. So the safety of the kids and the safety of the staff have to be taken into consideration also.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we got a text question about fraternal planners. So Supreme, we're sending those out to the financial secretary of the Grand Knights. You should have received them in the mail. That's all based upon the 185 that is turned in. If you did not get it, you can go to Supreme's website, to the supply section, and order them. They're pennies. You're basically just paying for shipping. Scott Crossan, you had a question.
Yes, I do. Thank you, worthy state deputy and brother Scott. One of the things that we all forget about when it comes to GBOT is one of the best fundraisers we have that happens every year, and it's finished up at the state convention, is the GBOT raffle. Now, if your council is a participating, and after you have heard this from GBOT, why don't you increase your participation in that raffle, say by 5%? Instead of bringing in $1,000, maybe you bring in $1,010 that you brought in, and let's get that. If your council hasn't participated or will not participate, or just has that block in it, maybe it's time you need to consider, because this is a real simple fundraiser that you can go. And if your members don't want to fill out the tickets, but they want to donate to it, put all your tickets to either the state of Indiana charity fund, or make them payable to GBOT, and let GBOT be the participant of the winning raffle number if it happens. And it happened this last year. But this is one of the best fundraisers that was started years and years ago by Bernie Gannon, I believe, a past state deputy, and his goal was always to get this up to 75,000. Let's get it up to 75,000 and then some. So we've got the function. Brother Knights, we can do it. We just got to want to do it. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, just to be clear, one of my goals is that every council is involved in GBOT in some fashion this year. We've got 196 councils, all 196 are doing something, whether that's the raffle tickets, whether that's the parade of checks, whether that's going out and have a pizza party for the kids, whatever that may be, I want you involved. Jerry, you had a question. Unmute yourself, please. Jerry Hake.
I got it.
There you go.
I only have one question, and it really goes to the Women's Care Center.
Yes.
How are they doing with the baby formula that's not around? How are they getting it?
Not sure if Bobby's still on, but they're struggling like everybody else, to my knowledge. They have supplies on hand, but obviously that'll get gone through, and they're probably working on donations.
I don't know of anybody that, I heard this on TV. It's been about a month ago, and we haven't had it at our parish, but I see these kids around. I'm wondering, where are they getting their formula from? But some of them, and I had one person just order from Canada. They got it. So, if anybody needs,
Okay.
It- You know, you could investigate in that.
Well, that's an option. But I'll leave that to them. They know how best to spend their money.
Okay,
All right. Guys, we're going to wrap this up, and my anticipation is that each of you will be working with your local district deputy to talk about planning for the next year. So you've got about an hour. What I would like for you to do is talk with DD. I need a schedule of when you're going to do church drives here in the fall, and then you can start looking at the spring as well, because we need to share that with Supreme. And again, what I shared with your DDs, church drives. Yes, we like the Delta church drive where you get up and do the pulpit pitch, but if your priest won't let you, we'll accept putting something in the bulletin, having guys in the narthex of the church after mass to welcome a new member in. Use the little QR code that we've shared to get them to be online members. Online is fast. As soon as you run them through that process, they're a member. They're an automatic member. And then you can work with them for a time that is convenient to do the first, second, and third degree exemplification and make them a full member. Just so you know, the officers, directors, and chairman are going to remain online for the next hour. So, you know, you can probably see Bob Zielinski's beautiful picture on there. He's hiding behind it somewhere. But if you have a question about the treasury, there he is now. He'll be able to answer that. Gil will be on if we need any questions regarding the business of the state. Just a quick reminder, if you're doing charitable donations, that's going to be mailed to our state treasurer, Bob Zielinski. He handles the charity account. That's the ultrasounds, the Special Olympics, the Jabalt monies, all that passes through him. If you're dealing with per capita and things like that, that goes through Gil. Please don't send it to me, because then I have to stick it in an envelope, send it to Gil. But Gil is our business person as a state secretary. So he handles the business accounts for the state. When we spend money, he's the one that takes care of that. And our funding is the per capita. We don't have it. We're going to try and do some fundraisers this year to offset that a little bit. But our main funding is per capita. And remember, $5 of your per capita goes to Jabalt to support them. So please pay your per capitas, get them in early. I had an interesting question. Why our donation from the state at the last two conventions has been less? The answer is I've been hounding people to turn in their per capita, and we've been giving it to them earlier in the year. So let's keep up that trend. We'd rather just give a donation and not necessarily have the per capita be the thing that we're handing in at convention. All right, so gentlemen, please meet with your DDs. Michelle, if you want to step off, you're more than welcome. And then, like I said, we'll be here. If you get questions, I'll do my best to answer. And both David and Frank are online, so if you have questions about membership or programs, they can answer those as well. Thank you.
Hey, gentlemen, I've got a quick question. I've been searching for a couple of gentlemen, and I thought since everyone's here, I would just toss this out here. Remember when you're making out your checks that they're made out to the Indiana State Council? They're not made out to me. They're not made out to Gil. You make them out to the Indiana State Council. And please make certain that whatever you've written on the amount line that you've written out longhand, whatever dollar amount that is, that has to match what you put in the numerical line. So if it's $50 in the little number box, you have to write out $50. I've had a situation where we've had several checks where what was written in the written line did not match what was in the number box, and the bank has refused them. So that being said, very quickly, does anyone out there know Rob? Is it Zajic? I'll just toss that out there. If you know Rob, I need to talk to him. If you could shoot me an email, that'd be great. There's no council number. There's no phone number. This check was made out for Race for Vocations, and I'm hunting him down. And Council 5584. you guys around or anybody from 5584 online. Um, I have a check here. I can't make out the signature. It's for the Tootsie Roll Drive. I need to talk to whoever the financial secretary is for that. 5584. If anybody out there knows those guys, have them reach out to me. That'd be swell. I'm still hunting them down, trying to communicate with them. I appreciate you, gentlemen. Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Bob. Hey, one quick thing. Don't anybody leave because I really need you on here. I'm going to ask that all of you do a closing prayer when you're done with your planning sessions. And then one quick announcement. October 1, we're going to do this again. And hopefully we have all the councils and all the districts in this by then. That's going to be more of an open town hall type meeting. We're going to talk about our successes. We're going to talk about any issues that are preventing you from being successful. But the plan is for us to have that discussion so that, you know, hey, I got a problem with a priest. Somebody can tell you how they've already done it and resolve that. And we can work together as Team Indiana to address those issues. I see you, Gil. And really, that we're going to do that then, and we'll do it again in the spring. So hopefully this has worked out well for you. Please share with your DDs any issues so that I can work with our diocesan chairman and the DDs to address those. Gil?
Hey, one other point to bring up. We have the state directory that's going to print. I know Dave Negrete mentioned about getting all the forms in. That Indiana Form 1 must be in, as well as your Form 185, so that way we can get the correct information in the state directory. It is going to print on August 15th. So any information we have not received by then, your old information will be in there, and anybody that still has the same current officer still needs to submit that form so we know that that is current. So please get that into our state admin and to myself. If you have any questions, give me a buzz.
Thank you. Okay. Got a question here about PowerPoint presentation. We'll be getting that out in the next day or so with the recording. It's going to get sent to the DDs, and then are we doing it to the council email? Yeah. To the council email. So council, your council number at indianaksc.org. That's the one that you want to be looking for. And District 3 and 4. I set the time today so that we would be done by noon Eastern. We can push that back to 10 a.m. next time to give you guys a little more beauty rest. I saw the picture from your district that you all need it.
Who thought he was a comedian?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, this is the State Program Director, Dave Negret. I just got a good question sent to me, and I just wanted to share the question and the answer I sent. The question was, what constitutes an acceptable donation to Ultrasound Special Olympics to meet the requirements for the Pinto Award? My recommendation is you follow the guidelines set forth in the Faith in Action program book when it comes to Special Olympics and ultrasound initiatives. For Special Olympics, for the featured program in life, councils are required to contribute a minimum of 200 man hours in support of state or local Special Olympic activities, or must raise a minimum of $2,000 for Special Olympics. With the ultrasound initiative, councils are required to identify a pregnancy center in need of an ultrasound machine that meets the requirements listed on the diocesan evaluation form, that is 10715. Upon approval from the Supreme Council, a council raises 50% of the cost of the ultrasound machine. The council must then follow the published guidelines for obtaining the remaining 50% from Supreme Council. Qualification for this program will be determined from the information provided on both the 10715 diocesan evaluation form and the 10716 ultrasound application. And again, all forms for the featured programs can be found at kfc.org/FIA forms. John, District 6, I see your question about councils, list of councils that have submitted the 185. If you log into your officer's online account, you can see for district deputy, you can click on the forms tab or reports tab, and there is a tab that'll, or a form that'll tell you, or a report that'll tell you which councils have not submitted a 185 or 365 form. You can check on that form or on that report to see if any of your councils are on that. If they have turned one in and are still showing up on that report, there is a little bit of lag time between when Supreme gets it and checks it off on their list and when they issue that report. So you can always click on the report tab in Officers Online, and you can obtain a list of councils not submitting the 185 and 365. As for the Indiana Form 1, I will have that information released on the activity tracker. If you are looking specifically for your district as a district deputy, just shoot me an email and I will let you know who has not turned in their Indiana Form 1. Speaking of that 365, 185, Indiana Form 1, it is imperative that you guys get that in. The reason why we have the early dates for that is because we want to be able to communicate quicker to you instead of being delayed in communicating with everyone. That's why the directory will be coming out shortly. That's why the program guide will be coming out shortly. We need to know who it is at the local levels to get in touch with. So you need to get those things turned in. Also, with your safe environment program, it was noted, someone had a question about that. Supreme does not know who to contact if you do not fill out that 365 form and turn it in. So there has to be a valid working email address for those individuals that need to take the safe environment training. Look in your junk folder because that's where the email is probably going to come to when you receive that email from Supreme or Armitage or Presidium, whoever sends that out to you.
Hey, gentlemen, just real quick, I'm going to be turning off the recording. So if you have any other questions, we can get online, but we do need to get it captured in chat because we'll be saving that.